Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. Great to see you. Welcome to our rehearsal. It's so great to be back with you again. It feels like ages since we were last together, and I hope you've had a good day today. I see lots of lovely people here who I'll be saying hello to in just a minute. But let's very quickly just talk about this amazing program that we have for you. These a cappella wonders, choral treasures, just absolute delights. I'm so glad you're enjoying the course so far. Of course, last week we had an incredible week with Nigel, and Nigel Short, ladies and gentlemen, is a hero of mine. Um, it's been amazing this year to work with so many people who, for years, were just names on CD cases or names on scores. Hello, everybody. But to actually get to talk with Nigel and get to chat with him was just a dream come true. And I was absolutely mesmerized by Nigel's sessions last week. I was sat in on all of them. I hope I didn't disturb anybody. But I learned such a lot about singing and about the Allegri Miserere, which I thought I knew pretty well, to be honest, but turns out I didn't. What an amazing week. So if you're watching, Nigel, what a privilege. Thank you ever so much for your incredible leadership last week. And we can't wait to sing the Allegri through with you as soon as it's ready. Lots and lots of lovely people here. I'm just going to say hello to a few of you. I mean, there's just hundreds and hundreds of people here. But just hello to everybody. Let's see. Some people have got some questions. Now, Gloria has mentioned in the chat already that Patchway, where I live, is on the news today. Yes, it is. We've had all sorts of things happen in Patchway over the last year. We've had big explosions and fires, and now there's the Brazilian COVID variant. So my family and I tomorrow are booked in for an exciting family excursion. We're going to get in the car and drive a mile down the road, and we're all going to be tested for COVID. How exciting. Some people take their children to the park. We make other plans. But, fingers crossed, that'll all be all well. And yes, thank Dorothy. Did anybody notice Nigel calling Ben that renowned first soprano? Well, to be fair, he hasn't heard my top C. Probably for the best. It is so lovely to see everybody, and I want to just thank you. Before I came online, I've been up here getting ready for the last hour or so, and just reading your comments, and I have to say I've been blushing a bit. Thank you, everybody. It's so lovely to be back and working with you again. Now, in case anybody's wondering, tonight, because there have been some people asking about what pieces are we going to be looking at, if you could have all four of the pieces ready, that would be great. Because what I'd like to do this evening, everybody, is to just play through and talk through the remaining pieces in the program. So you will need the Allegri. As I've said, we will sing that through tonight. I think I'll leave that one to near the end. Okay, maybe not the last piece. I want to save the Lotti Crucifixus for last. And those of you that have never sung it before will say why. And those of you that have sung it before know I know exactly why. But you'll need the Tallis as well, If You Love Me, and you'll need the Bruckner. If you could have all four of those pieces handy, that would be great. In our rehearsals this week, as I'll make clear once we start officially at 5 o'clock, we'll be looking primarily this week at the two Latin pieces remaining. So that'll be Locus Iste and the Crucifixus. All right, but I'll say all that at 5 o'clock when we start officially. Fantastic. It is so great to see everybody. Hello to John from Maine. You've enjoyed Nigel a lot, but looking forward to having Ben back in the saddle. I have to say, it was a real education, very eye-opening actually for me to be on the other side of the experience. And I have loved every one of our guest conductors and wonderful conductors that we have on the choir. But when I was rehearsing with Nigel last week, I had a real sort of... I'm being conducted by Nigel Short. I really did. It was fabulous. And as I've said, he's an absolute hero, proper inspiration. I'm sure you were aware, but Nigel was a member of the King Singers. He might have mentioned it. And one of my absolute favourite, one of my Desert Island discs, ladies and gentlemen, is a disc by the King Singers. It was released in the early 90s. And maybe the mid-90s, actually, to be fair. It's called Sermons and Devotions, and you can find it on Spotify, you can find it on Apple Music, and even bits of it on YouTube. I think I might have mentioned it before. It's astonishing, and it has a set of pieces in there. I might even have the score lying around. Anyway, it's by Richard Rodney Bennett, these pieces. They're called Sermons and Devotions, and Nigel's one of the countertenors on that recording. It is genuinely one of my favourite discs, full stop. And to get to speak to one of the men who was on it was just incredible. So if you haven't listened to it yet, after this rehearsal, download it, have a listen. The Totus Tuus by Goretzky is incredible, but the five movements there, sermons and devotions, are absolutely unbelievable. And anybody who's here from Wales, a very happy St David's Day. I'm going to have a go at this. Duth gul dwy hapus. A very happy St David's Day to you. All right, lovely to see you all again. It is great to be back. Fabulous. So, how's everybody doing? Hello to Julie. Hello to Karen and Wendy and Christina. Hello to Paula and Anna and Elizabeth. Lots and lots of lovely people here. Hello to Karen and Breda and Paula and Nancy. Here we are again. Absolutely. It's very, very odd to be at this point in the year and really thinking back to this time last year where we were still a couple of weeks away from lockdown officially starting. But I don't know about you, we're all sort of looking at each other in a sort of a, shouldn't we be, you know, maybe not shaking hands, and lots of people offering elbows to each other, still doing concerts, mind you, but it was a very strange time of year, wasn't it? So looking forward to our birthday, 30th of March. Look out for information about that. We're going to have a fantastic day. And hello to everybody. Hello to Gina. Hi, Gina. Hello, Dorothy. Hello, Pat and Andrea. Lots of people are saying they love the Totus Tuus. Well, I mean, that's an absolutely wonderful piece. It is quite long, as Andrea says. It was quite long. Do bear in mind, of course, the full Allegri Miserere, which we're learning, is very, very long indeed. We should be grateful, I think, as Nigel said, that we're doing a slightly truncated version. It was a really, if you sing the full thing, it can take as much as 12, 13 minutes. So our version is much shorter. But no, really, really glad you folks are enjoying all of the lovely program. And yes, some people have mentioned my background. So this is what it looks like behind the curtain. And you can see here I've got some other bits and pieces. This might be familiar to some of you. Some of my self-isolation choir memorabilia and my scores. You see, I've got to try and look like I know what I'm talking about. So I've got all of my sheet music behind me, which is great. A shelfie, I believe they call it. Thank you, Joy. Fabulous. And so who else? Well, hello, Jane and Beverly and Maria and Linda. Which piece are we singing tonight? So you'll need all four of your pieces, please, Linda. We're going to be singing through the Allegri, which of course you rehearsed last week, and we'll be looking ahead to the remaining three pieces. So if we could have all four of them ready, that would be great. Our rehearsals this week will be focusing mainly on the two Latin pieces remaining. So that will be the Crucifixus by Lotti and Locus Iste by Bruckner. And then the third week of the course, we'll learn the Tallis, If You Love Me, and then we'll go back over the everything and make sure we've covered the lot, because I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, I have a wonderful feeling about this course. You know, the quality of the music making here is really some of the best that we've seen in this choir. And so we have the potential, if we work hard, all of us, if we all pull together, we have the potential to create perhaps one of the best recordings of these great works ever. And I don't know if anyone's ever recorded the Allegri Miserere with this many people. So it really is going to be an incredible experience. And the Lotti Crucifixus, as I will say when we're learning it, up until last year, it was my favourite piece of a cappella choral music. It has since, ladies and gentlemen, been knocked from that top spot by a little piece called Quanta Qualia. But it's still a very close second. And I can't wait to hear Self-Isolation Choir singing it. It's going to be incredible. And I'd love to know how many of you know the piece. If you've ever sung Crucifixus before, all right, if you have, I have. If you've never sung it before, can you let me know in the comments? I just want to know how many of you are going to get this incredible life-changing experience tonight, because it really is that beautiful. It's off the charts. So anyway, so hello to Denise in Rochester, New York. You're at work, but trying to attend sotto voce. Well done. Okay, maybe don't try the top seat at your desk, but that's fabulous. No pressure then, Ben, says Karen. No, none at all. You know me. Fabulous stuff. Hello to Leslie from Nottingham. Great to see you, Leslie. Oh, it's the Russian week in the summer. Oh, my goodness me. Honestly, folks, the program that we've got chosen for the rest of this year is so beautiful. Lots of people saying, I've sung it, I've never sung it, I've never sung it. Oh, my goodness. Honestly, I've like the hair standing up on the back of my neck at the thought of so many of you never having sung it before. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Oh, the thing is, all of these pieces are really my favourites. It's one of the great advantages of being in the position that I am as musical director of this choir, that I can say to Mark, why don't we do these pieces? And we talk about them. And he quite often agrees with my choices, which is, again, makes a nice change. And when I said, shall we do Lottie Crucifixus? He said, I don't know it. And I sent it to him, and he wrote back almost, he listened to it and wrote back straight away, oh my goodness, this is incredible. So just wait, folks. It's going to be worth it. Oh, fabulous. And of course, for me, the Allegri Miserere, I'm so glad that obviously Nigel took it last week. I was sat on my hands a little bit, though, because I do know the Allegri rather well. Not perhaps as well as Nigel Short, I do have to concede. But many years ago, I was a member of a choir called the New English Orchestra Choir. And we were a itinerant group that went all around the world singing. And obviously the orchestra played. And we went on a particular tour around the cathedrals of the UK, and we sang in Bristol, we sang in Coventry Cathedral, we sang in Bradford Cathedral, we sang in Manchester, we sang all over. And one of the key parts of the concert was that the choir would sing the Allegri Miserere from memory with just these little candles. They weren't candles, they were actually light bulbs with batteries. And so we sang this piece in the cathedral in total darkness with a packed house. Oh my goodness, what an experience. But anyway, I'm wittering, and it's nearly time for us to start. So it is so good to see all of you here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming along this evening. We're going to get started in under a minute, so make sure you've got everything you need for our session. Make sure that sneaky phone is on silent. All right, got to make sure we've got that. Make sure you've got plenty of drinks to hydrate yourselves, and we will begin. Please, by the way, do keep chatting throughout the rehearsal if you want to. If the chat annoys you, turn it off the screen. But chatting is, I think, a huge part of online choirs, and whatever the Hull Choral Society may say. So let us start our rehearsal. Help me out, folks, as we make the noise and wave our fingers. Marvellous. And a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to week 2 of our incredible A Cappella Wonders course. And this week we are going to be looking in particular at 2 of the remaining pieces in Latin, the Lottie Crucifixus, which is just astonishing, and Bruckner's gorgeous Locus Iste, a piece that has been attempted by many choirs over many years and sung pretty well. Our version is going to be stunning. And of course, there's still one piece to learn, which will be next week. We'll learn Talus's If Ye Love Me, and then we will revise everything in the course. So actually, we have time to really do this properly, spend the time to get all the detail just right. What a treat. And of course, today we're also going to sing through everything. So if you can make sure you've got all 4 pieces ready, including the Allegri, we'll sing that through towards the end. And just to say one more time before we start, just what an honour it has been working with Tenebrae and with Nigel on this project. I learned such a lot from the rehearsals last week, and I would encourage all of you, even if you were there live at Nigel's rehearsals, there is such a lot packed into his rehearsals. It's well worth watching them more than once, particularly before you record, if you can. I know it can take a long time, but you can just pop it on whilst you're doing some housework or something, because it's quite easy to miss important information. So do bear that in mind, particularly Nigel's sessions. They were absolutely packed. So folks, what we'll do is we'll get warmed up, and then we'll talk about the remaining pieces in the programme. We'll sing them through a couple of times each, and I'll give you a little bit of background information to them. But first of all, I think we should get warmed up, if you don't mind. So if I can invite you all to be upstanding. Thank you very much indeed. And plant those feet a shoulder's width apart. You know the drill. Nigel's way of talking about it was rather good. He said, put your feet beneath your hips. I think a shoulder's width apart is just as good. I did mention this to a lady chorister, and she said, well, the width of my hips, it's probably best to say shoulders instead. Whichever works for you, ladies and gentlemen. As long as your feet are apart and you're feeling sturdy and secure as you're standing up, that's great. And if I can invite you all to give yourself a nice straight back and a long neck as well. And we're just going to roll our shoulders around a bit, folks, and take a few deep breaths in and out, and allow ourselves to begin to de-stress a little bit. Whatever you've had going on today, just breathe it out. I've had an interesting day, ladies and gentlemen, just share with you. I went to the dentist this morning expecting to have a filling replaced, and whilst the dentist was working on my tooth, he went, oh dear, And that wasn't a good sound because my filling replacement turned into root canal. And I've never started the week at 8:30 a.m. with a root canal, but, you know, it certainly puts the rest of the week in context. Rolling your shoulders back, please, folks. And then bring your shoulders up, please. And as you breathe out, let your shoulders fall. Thank you very much. And just roll your neck around a bit. Stretch these muscles out. Just allow any tension to drain away. Thank you, everybody. Well done. Let's take a deep breath in and blow the air out. Splendid. Again, breathe in and out. And one more deep breath. And blow all that air away from you. Splendid. Thanks very much indeed, everybody. So what we're going to do, we'll start by just humming some very, very gentle notes here. Now I've got the organ sound here. How's this sound? Lovely. So we'll start there on a C. Nice deep breath. Here we go. And lovely again. And lovely. Now an ooh and ooh. Splendid. You know, I've just had a thought. Since we're singing a cappella music, let's turn on the chapel sound. There we are. So let's have an ah and on again. Ah. Splendid. And now can I have, please, after me, ma, ma, ma. Your turn. Great. My turn. Ya, ya, ya. Great. Me, me, me. Your turn. Thank you. Ya, ya, ya. Your turn. Thank you. Yaw, yaw, yaw. Your turn. Good. Ma, ma, ma. And thank you. Now, basses and altos drop down the octave, and let's carry on as we sing ya, ya, ya. Thank you very much indeed. Just take a moment to hydrate yourselves. Okay, quick sip of the drink. Anyone who had 5 past 5 on the sweepstakes? There you are. Okay, so now let's drop down a tone and we'll do some fifths. So let's have ma, 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 everybody, and ma, 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 and again, ma, 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 one more, ma, 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 ma. Thank you very, very much indeed. I'll just turn the chapel sound off for a moment. Thanks, everyone. Well done. And many, many thanks for your kind comments about the about the root canal. Wasn't much fun, but it's lovely being with you now. So look, let's have a quick talk about this incredible program that we're singing through. And I'm really glad that you enjoyed the Allegri last week. This week we're going to introduce 2 more pieces, and next week the final piece in the program. And all 4 of these pieces are united by a common theme. Obviously they're all a cappella, and I'm sure you all know, but a cappella is literally in the style of the chapel. A cappella, and in the style of the chapel means traditionally without instrumental accompaniment, even though actually technically some of these pieces should have a little bit of instrumental accompaniment. And one of the things about a cappella singing in particular is that you often find that because it is all about the voices are treated in some cases perhaps in a more grand way than if it had instrumental accompaniment. And a lot of these pieces that we're singing today, in fact all the pieces, have a particular feature that you'll hear in choral music, and this is a harmonic feature. It's called a suspension. It's not actually entirely from choral music at all, but a suspension is where you get, for example, a chord, and you get a note that moves and clashes with the rest of the chord before resolving. Okay, so you have a suspension, a suspended note, which then resolves. And the key with suspensions, everybody, is that they create tension in the music, which is then released. Tension, release. And the thing about this is, ladies and gentlemen, music without tension is just boring. Okay, with no suspensions, nothing at all. It really does get quite samey. In the same way that nobody ever goes to the cinema to see a film where everything goes well for the title character. Nobody ever sits down to watch a soap opera hoping that everything turns out well. You know, in all of culture, in all of art, dance, music, there is tension, and then there is release. And the music that we're singing over these 3 weeks, it has some of the finest examples of these suspensions that you'll find. And I'm very, very quickly going to just talk about two types, okay? Two types. The first we call a 4/3 suspension, which is this, okay? And the reason it's called 4/3, very quickly, is the note that's suspended is 4 tones above the root note. 4, 3, 2, 3. Okay, and that's a fairly common suspension. You'll hear that in the Tallis, and you'll hear it in the Bruckner, and in the Allegri, and in the Lotti. The other type of suspension that we're going to be hearing a lot of, particularly in the Allegri and in the Lotti, is the 9/8 suspension. Again, this means the note that's suspended is 9 notes above the root note. Okay, so there is our chord, and there's the 9th. Okay, now if you play it on its own on a major chord, it sounds nice. Sounds like the Carpenters. Okay, so that's a 9/8 suspension. It sounds all warm and lovely. If you play a 9/8 suspension in a minor key, though, you get this. Okay, really intense, because the two notes are next to each other. They are a semitone apart. Now, all of this detail is to introduce these pieces that we're singing through, because when you get to these suspensions, folks, that's where the magic happens. That's where the tension and release creates that incredible rush of musical wonder. Okay, so as we're singing through and as we're learning the pieces over the coming weeks, I'll just be pointing out those clashes to you and encouraging you to enjoy every one of them. You know, it's a little bit like sucking on a lemon sometimes. Oh, there's that lovely suspension. And there's the resolution. So what I'd like to do, folks, with that in mind, is I'd like us to have a little sing through Locus Iste to begin with. Okay, now this one is a very straightforward little piece. It's by Anton Bruckner. If you could all grab it for me, please. Thank you very much. And this is a piece, as I said, slightly cynically, that has been attempted by many, many choirs. There's a very good reason for it. It's deceptively simple. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous piece written as a gradual, so a piece of music that takes place in the service on the way, gradual from the Latin to step, on the way to the sermon. Okay, and this particular piece, this wonderful Locus Iste, the words Locus Iste ad Deo factus est, this is a place made by God. It's a piece written for the consecration of a church. And so you'll often hear this piece performed at that very event. But what you will find is that most choirs will have a go at this because of its relative simplicity. And I love the fact that it could be Mozart, couldn't it? It absolutely could be Mozart. And that's Bruckner being very, very deliberate here. As it carries on, it gets more romantic and you get these big, big, big moments. But at its core, it is a very, very simple piece in the same sort of vein as Mozart's Ave Verum Corpus. So what I'd like to do is to enjoy it now. We'll sing it through. Remember, we're going to be learning this all together this week. And so if you've never sung it before, you might just want to listen along. If you have sung it before, though, please do enjoy and sing with us. Here are your notes. There's the soprano note, alto, tenor, bass, Locus Iste by Anton Bruckner. Okay, so let's have a go. Here we go. Nice deep breath. And where are they? Well done, everybody. Thanks so much. If it's new to you, please don't worry if all you did there was listen. What a beautiful piece of music that is, isn't it? As I said, deceptively simple. It's one of those pieces of music that any choir can have a go at, but to sing it well is a challenge. And so some people might say, well, why are we spending all this time learning this piece? Isn't it easy? No, it's not. And so we're going to be looking at this in huge detail, particularly the dynamic contrasts, and really nailing the tuning here, because there's so many places where if you're not careful, the intonation can slip, and there are some funny little corners that we'll look at. But at its heart, that is just such a wonderfully warm and loving piece of music, isn't it? And I don't know whether it's deliberate, but the fact is the whole piece is about building, and so the basses don't move very much, as if they're the foundation. Whether that was deliberate or not, I don't know, but I suspect it was. And that beautiful middle section, we're going to have a lovely time learning this one this week, everybody. Okay, so we may sing that one again towards the end, but what I'd like to do now is to have a quick sing through the beautiful Allegri Miserere, which you learned last week with Nigel. So can you all grab the score for that, please, everybody? Thank you. So this incredible piece by Allegri, which of course you'll have spent a lot of time singing through last week with Nigel. Many choirs will have sung it. Very few people will have sung this version, which of course is Tenebre's special edition. And I was looking, just browsing around, looking for different performances of the Miserere. Of course, you put Miserere May into Google, the top hit is Tenebrae. And as is the second hit as well. So that really did highlight to me, again, just how lucky we are to be working with these amazing singers and with Nigel. So now look, just a couple of tips on this one. I will go through all four pieces next week, and if there are any snags, any bits that you just want revision on, I think there is already a document flying around, we'll cover all of that next week. But just a couple of little tips and tricks from me if it helps, okay? And please remember that Nigel is leading this one, and he's done a fantastic job of teaching it. And just from my point of view, what would really help, well, what helped me when I came to learn this piece is to really know the underpinning note structure of what's going on. The hardest part I found with this is the words, and I'm sure many of you would agree, because it's the same pieces of music just going round and round. As long as you're happy with where the note's going next, you can start to concentrate a bit more on the words. So I would suggest, if this is a completely new piece to you and you're struggling in any way to get this into your head, take the words out and just sing it to bar. Yeah, you could literally go ba 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 ba, and so on. And you'd still get that lovely sense of musicality without having to worry so much about getting the words in the right place. If that helps, do please consider doing that before you then introduce the words. The other thing to remember, particularly with things like plain chant, it's really hard to to sing plain chant with a sense of with a sense of pulse, because it wasn't written that way, and so a lot of this et secundinem multitudinem miserationem tuarum, as Nigel said, there has to be this sense almost of sung speech. So given that we're recording along with a recording, I would say those of you who are singing the plain chant, you really need to listen to it again and again and just get a sense of where the tenors are placing those all-important beats, okay? The other thing to say is don't over-sing this one, okay? It's very, very easy to kind of go belting in, particularly at the starts of verses, and keep everything lovely and gentle, okay? Keep everything... it's not Elijah, okay? If you think about Help Lord at the start of Elijah, those of you that were on the course, that incredible whoosh moment, the Allegri is to sort of float from the back of the chapel, and everyone in the building goes, oh, that's the kind of sound we want to craft, isn't it, everybody? Okay, well, let's have a sing through this beautiful, beautiful piece. And remember, we will go through more of the notes next week. Or before we do, let me just point out just a couple of those suspensions that I was talking about. And I'm sure a couple of you noticed them in the Bruckner. If we look at the first two pages, everybody, you've obviously got the opening here. Miserere mei. Now, the first two bars, we just have straightforward chords, but then at the deus, we start to get these first suspensions. So tenors, you have the de, and you can hear that note clashes. That's the first real suspension sung by the tenors. And anytime you see these notes going across bar lines, usually tied together, there's an example of that in the soprano line, second soprano rather, third and fourth bar. Those are usually going to be suspensions, so watch out for those, sing into them. And just at the end of this first section, bars 10, 11, 12, just have a listen. Actually, no, let's go from the start of bar 9. Listen to the chords. I'm going to have a go at this. Now, can you hear that incredible chorus? There was double suspension. And then here 9/8, and then 4/3. So these suspensions are piling up one on top of the other. And so those of you who are singing the note that is going to resolve, the actual suspended note, you're going to want to sing all the way through these notes and really feel that clash. There's something wonderful about being in that part, I find, that is going to clash up against somebody else. And you know it's coming, so you sing into it. The clash happens, and then you move away, and it creates that wonderful, wonderful space. A fantastic conductor of mine once said, it's a bit like these amazing pilots that go up and fly in formation. The closer the planes get before they move away, the more the crowd goes, oh! And it's the same with music. So let's enjoy the Miserere mei, everybody. Here are your notes. Soprano 1, soprano 2, alto, tenor, bass. Okay, everyone? Here we go. Here's the Allegri. And...
Et secundum multitudinem miserationum tuarum, dele iniquitatem meam, ambibus amor, ab quoniam iniquitatem meam ego cognosco, et peccatum meum contra me est semper. Tibi soli peccavi et malorum te ut justificaris in sermonibus tuis et vicas, cum iudicat conceptus sum, et in peccatis concepit me mater mea. Et in veritatem asperges meis opo et mundabor, lavabis me super nivem de albabor. Aditui meo davis carium Sacrificium Deo Spiritus contribulatus, co contritum et humiliatum Deus non despicies. Venire fac Domine, in bona voluntate
Wow. I think that's all anyone can say. Excuse me, folks. I think I need to hydrate after that. What an incredible piece and an incredible performance. I mean, that's the thing. I'm here conducting the wonderful self-isolation choir and tenebrae. Who'd have thought it, eh? Incredible. And of course, what we've heard there is an absolute masterclass in everything that Nigel was talking about. That high quality singing, where we're not getting overly dramatic in terms of the vibrato. We're being really careful with our consonants and with our vowel placements and so on. And most importantly, we're singing all the way through these lovely long lines. And just one more quick thing before we move on from this one. Um, One thing I might suggest, and I mentioned this in the little preamble, I know this piece very well, having been a member of the New English Orchestra. We went round the country singing, as I said, in major concert halls. We sang at the Bridgewater Hall. We sang at Symphony Hall, the Brompton Oratory. Amazing place to sing this piece. We had to learn it off by heart. And it was the full version. This had another sort of, I think, 4 or 5 verses. And so the thing I remember practicing, I was at university at the time, in my third year, I was sat in my room with headphones on, and all I was doing was practicing the opening of each verse. Okay, so not the lovely long bits that we all love, but the bit, for example, "Ton acceptabi sacrificium justitiae oblati." Oh, and then I'd skip to the next verse. And I might suggest to those of you who are finding this one tricky, I would suggest that it's that bit that's the hardest bit, because each one of them is different depending on the words and depending on how the choir sung it. So again, if that helps, don't sing through all the bits that you can do. Just focus on the bits that are tough. And for me, that was the start of each verse. But your experience may vary. Okay, everybody, very, very well done. Congratulations. Now let's sing through. Have a little look at "If Ye Love Me," please. "If Ye Love Me" by Thomas Tallis. Thank you very, very much indeed. Thank you. So now, look, Thomas Tallis is an incredibly important composer in this country, here in the UK. He was obviously one of our finest composers of choral music in the 16th century. He is a member of what we know as the Renaissance. And so this is a period of time that really picked up from the end of the medieval era, and throughout the sort of 1500s and 1600s started to develop into really the type of music that we listen to today. So we started to move away from single lines to sort of meandering, and I know that sounds quite patronising, but the plain chant, which was just a matter of a single line, sometimes two, that interwove but didn't necessarily make a huge amount of sense, to this kind of music where the parts have a relationship and you start to see intervals and chords starting to develop. Now, just a quick bit of background to Tallis and his contemporary William Byrd. Of course, there was a lot going on politically in England when this music was being written. You have the Reformation, you have a huge amount of tension between Catholicism and Protestantism. You have the breakaway of the Church of England, thanks to Henry VIII, and therefore an Anglican church tradition. And so this piece here is written in the English Reformation style. And so some of the things that mark this style out from other pieces of the time, well, first of all, it's in English. And that might not be surprising, but music for the Anglican Church was almost exclusively in English. If it was in Latin, chances are it was for Catholic worship, for Mass, and for big chunks of the Renaissance, that was banned in England. And so Tallis is writing here in English. Now, his contemporary, I mentioned, William Byrd, also wrote in English, but also wrote in Latin. If you know his Ave Verum Corpus, written to be sung in secret in a clandestine room at the back of the house, late at night, where people were conducting Mass in secret so they wouldn't be discovered. I mean, again, the history is absolutely fascinating. Those of you who don't live in the UK, if you ever come to the UK, see if you can visit a stately home that has one of these priest holes, these hidey holes where the priests used to be hidden so that they wouldn't be caught and executed. Absolutely fascinating. Anyway, so to return to this piece, "If You Love Me" is written is in English. It's written in this Reformation style. It's almost strophic. So you have, one note per word. "If ye love me, keep my commandments." There's no polyphony, or very little polyphony here, where you have more than one note per syllable. And that means it is relatively simple, and that gives it a huge power, this piece. Again, deceptively easy to sing. Any choir can have a go at it, but it takes a really good choir to sing it through beautifully and with integrity. A couple of things looking at our score before we have a look at it. You should notice there are no dynamics. And if you sing a version of this with piano and forte written in, those are editorial. Those are decisions that have been made many, many centuries after Tallis died. The original scores would have had no dynamic markings on at all. You were guided by the shape of the music and guided by the meaning of the words. And so in this case, you'll see, particularly in the second half of this piece, we have an A section, which is the first page, and we have a second section, which is the second page, which repeats. In the second half, you'll see quite a lot of these lines. That he may bide with, that he may bide, with these notes being, again, suspended over the bar line, and you start to get this lovely cascading feeling, almost as if God's mercy is coming down from heaven to us. And it has this wonderful, very typical English thing where you're singing spirit, but of course it's on one syllable. Do you remember that when those who sang Messiah? There's quite a lot of that in Messiah. One note for two syllables. So here we don't sing spirit, we sing spreet. In the spreet of truth. Okay, I know spreet sounds a bit like a fizzy drink, but it's not. In the spirit of truth. And so let's have a little sing through this. Again, if you've never sung it, I really hope you enjoy it. It's one of these pieces which pops up almost unexpectedly from time to time. It was sung, I think, at Harry and Meghan's wedding. And interestingly, just given that this is an Anglican piece, it was sung when the Pope visited the UK. It was sung as at Westminster Abbey when he was in attendance. And I just think that is lovely. And after all these centuries, and given at the time that it was written, writing anything for Catholic worship was completely forbidden on pain of death. Things have mellowed a bit, certainly in terms of choral music in the meantime. Right, I've just noticed this light is causing a rather odd effect on my eyes. I'm just going to move that. Excuse me, folks, that's a bit better. Okay, so everyone, here is If Ye Love Me by Thomas Tallis. There's your note sopranos, altos, tenors, and bass. I'm going to ask everybody, if you know it, sing along with a big smile on your face. Okay, everyone? So those notes one more time. Deep breath. Here we go. And That was absolutely sublimely sung, wasn't it? Well done, Tenebrae. Absolutely phenomenal. And what a gorgeous piece, isn't it? Isn't it? That you see what I mean about the cascading? Get that lovely clash with the semitones. And did you hear the suspensions as well? Yeah, there absolutely are suspensions. Comforter. There's that 4-3. So there's the tension and the release, and even that, and I will pray. That tension there. So even at this relatively early stage, the building blocks are there for the intense sort of sounds of the Baroque. Absolutely wonderful. And again, I can't wait to hear you sing that, because a big choir singing all with a warm sound and with big smiles on their faces. I mean, it's exactly the kind of thing that people need to hear at the moment. And I know it doesn't mean this at all, but the end of the first page, he will give you another comforter. Of course, he's talking about the Messiah, but of course, comforter means something else in America. It's a nice warm duvet, a blanket. And I just think this piece is the ultimate duvet. It's wonderful. You can wrap yourself in it. So well done, everybody. Thank you. Have a quick sip of drink. And that was it, wasn't it? Is that everything? Oh no, there's just one more. It's just one more piece. One of the greatest pieces of choral writing in history. Could I ask everyone please to grab Crucifixus by Antonio Lotti. Thank you, everybody. Crucifixus. Well, this piece and I go way back, ladies and gentlemen. I first encountered this piece at the age of 17, and just a very quick bit of background. I've always sung. I didn't actually study music officially at GCSE because I have a bit of a side hobby in art. And my mother told me whilst we were deciding which subject to do, well, it's easier to do music outside school, so why don't you study art? So I studied art. And my head of music, Mr. Norris, for whom my son is named, was furious, absolutely furious. And he insisted that I go and study GCSE music with him as an extra, and I did. And he said, you need to join a church choir. He said, because if you want to get good at sight reading and sight singing, and really develop your voice, you need that discipline of going along and singing every week, new program every week, sometimes multiple services. You'll never get a better experience in choral training. And he was absolutely right. And I went and I joined the local church, the Church of St Edward the Confessor in Romford in Essex. Fantastic church choir, really, really good. And I was there for my first Lent there. We sang this. And when Jonathan, who was the musical director, said, so time for the Crucifixus, there was a frisson in the choir. I went, oh. I said to the chap standing there, what's this piece? He went, just wait, just you wait. And we sang it. And I'm not going to say any more about the piece yet, because we're going to have a look at this. We're going to sing it through, and then we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to finish with it as well. Because there's many of you out there who were in exactly the position I was in. And then we sang this piece, and I wasn't the same again. It is absolutely sublime. So if I can just give you starting notes, we'll sing it through. If you've never sung it before, you might want to listen. I'll talk to you a little bit about it, and we'll sing it one more time, and then we shall be learning it this week, okay? Now, how about that for a build-up? Better be good now, isn't it? Okay? The whole thing starts with a 9/8 suspension. Incredible. Right, basses. There's your note. Here we go, everybody. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think of that one? Do you think my choir was right? I think they were absolutely right to turn to me saying, oh, just you wait. I finished that singing that piece. Well, I think I only managed to sing about half of it because I was literally crying by the time it finished. To sing it as part of a choir for the first time on here, it was just indescribable. And of course, what we're going to be doing is creating something that no one in the world has ever done before, which is this piece sung in isolation, sung by hundreds and hundreds of people. And the thought just fills me with excitement and joy, because what a piece. Now, just a couple of quick things about that, and we are going to sing it through again because it deserves it. So just a couple of bits I think of interesting information. First of all, it's not a standalone piece. It's actually part of a credo that Lottie wrote. Lottie himself was a very prolific composer, another of these amazing musicians from the Venetian school, and he was active at around the same time as Vivaldi. But he's primarily known for this piece. He set it multiple times, but this is perhaps the best known. If you like Lottie's music, do look out for the credo. You know, his music is absolutely sublime, and it's almost a shame he's only really known for the one piece, a bit like Albinoni. So that's the first thing to say. The second thing is, I'm sure you noticed everything that I've been saying all evening has been building up to this piece. The entire thing is tension and release, tension, release. It doesn't let up until the very last bar. And that makes sense, doesn't it? If you think about the subject matter of the piece, Crucifixus, he was crucified under Pontius Pilate, suffered and was buried. And so, you know, the entire piece is a setting of really of the core of the creed, you know, Christ's suffering, death, and then subsequent resurrection. And this deals with the harsh truth of that suffering. And you notice whenever composers set the Crucifixus, if you listen to Beethoven's setting of it, you listen to Mozart's, of course, you know, everyone attacks it. There's always some feeling of pain and suffering. This is one of the only settings I've found, or that I've heard of the piece, where it's not violent, it's not aggressive. There is pain, but it is beauty. There is beauty in the pain, and I think that's a key to it. That's a key part to it. Now, it ends on that sublime chord, and you expect it to go from this diminished note, diminished chord. You expect it to finish on a minor chord, but it doesn't, of course. It finishes on the major. This is called the tierce de Picardy, the Picardy third. We heard some of those in the Mozart Requiem, if you recall. So this is a technique that composers use to just lighten the mood at the very, very end. And that makes sense in the context of a creed, doesn't it? And one other thing before we sing that absolutely sublime movement all the way through again, it's important, obviously, to note whereabouts you are. Easier said than done. What you might want to do, just a little bit of housekeeping, is once you've decided which part you want to sing, and you can see, obviously, it goes second, first, second, first, second, first, second, first, all the way up. You might just want to mark your line in. So as you turn the page, you don't think, oh, there's 8 to choose from. Which part am I on now? And we'll talk about that, obviously, as we're learning this week. But just as we sing it through, you might just want to make a little note. And just to say, obviously, Lottie he understands the human voice beautifully. He always writes the key suspensions in the strong part of your voice. So if you're singing through these lovely long notes, make sure you get some heft behind them and enjoy those clashes. Otherwise, just enjoy every minute of it. The big moment at the bottom of page 3, the pa sus es, where the sopranos come in on the top G, and we get the big double suspensions and so on, is as I was saying before we started, it was my favourite bit of choral writing ever, and it's now my second favourite bit of choral writing ever after Quanta Qualia. And I don't mind people telling Patrick Hawes that. I think Quanta Qualia is astonishing, but this is a close second. So shall we sing it through one more time, everybody? Here we go. So there we go, basses. Okay, so there we are. And everybody enjoy this. This is a very, very special piece. So one more time, basses, take it away. And
Crucifix,
Many thanks, ladies and gentlemen. I can't help but get emotional every time, without fail. That bottom of page 3 just hits like a sledgehammer, doesn't it? It's just sublime. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's our programme. And of course, you spent last week learning the Allegro Miserere with Nigel. All those rehearsals are saved for you. What a treat. Okay, you can watch them as many times as you like. Even after we've recorded, you can come back. What was that thing Nigel said? And you can go back and you can watch it. So please make sure you use that resource because, it's an incredible honour and opportunity to learn from Nigel. I will be here every night this week and next week teaching the remainder of this incredible course. So tomorrow, I'm with the sopranos. Then it's the altos, the tenors, the basses. The old trick, the old schedule. 5 o'clock every day. Sops tomorrow we'll be looking at the Crucifixus and Locus Iste, and that'll be the same for everybody this week. Of course, if you're around, please do come along. We love seeing you. My errants. It's great having errant sopranos, altos, tenors, basses at whichever rehearsal you like. I'm hoping Nigel will come along to the first soprano rehearsal. And the other thing to say is, folks, when you're singing this music, I know we're getting quite used to it, but it's important to remember this choir is incredibly special. This is a choir unlike any other. We're singing together, but we're practicing extreme choral distancing. Okay, we're singing all together all around the world. And so when you're learning this with me, when you're singing this for the recording, feel the rest of the choir around you. Okay, feel everybody else singing because they are with you. And that feeling of singing Crucifixus when I was a teenager, surrounded by my choir, I had that feeling just now conducting you. So we're going to have a brilliant couple of weeks, and of course the end product's going to be astonishing. So join me tomorrow, sopranos, for our rehearsals. Do please look out for all of Mark's fantastic emails. He's got so many important things to say. It's worth reading every single word. And just many congratulations to everybody who's been learning with John and with Ellie. Some incredible rehearsals going on here on SIC. I've been maintaining all year with the busiest choir in the world, and I don't think that's in danger. I don't think we're in danger of losing that crown anytime soon. So everyone, I'll see you very, very soon. We're together again as a full choir next Monday, but hopefully I'll see you later this week. So everyone, have a fantastic week, and we'll see you soon. All the best, folks. Bye-bye.